What's up, everyone? Welcome to New Gameplay. Today, I am Marcus Stewart. I am joined by Kyle Hilliard. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Going good. We are currently on a road trip. Surprise, meant to tell you before, but we're taking a big old trip down open roads. A brand new game by... Now, this is interesting. Technically, this is a game by Fullbright, who you know as the makers of Gone Home, as well as the sci-fi game Tacoma. But this is technically the team that made this is branded as the Open Roads team. So
Right.
it is the people at Fullbright, but specifically the people that made this are dubbed the Open Roads team. And the reason for that is that kind of like following the sort of like restructuring, I guess, of the studio with sort of like the Steve Gaynor allegations, which you can actually read all about in a really good feature that former editor Kim Wallace wrote on GameInformer.com, just sort of breaking down what happened there. But, you know, this game has been a long time coming. It was announced, I want to say, like 2020. I think it was at the Game Awards, from what I remember. But, you know, it's been sort of in limbo for a long time because of all that. But it's finally coming out this Thursday, March 28th. And it's the narrative adventure where you play as this mother and daughter who embark on basically a road trip together as they try to chase down this mystery surrounding their grandmother, or in this case, the mom's mother. So we have Tess there, the daughter, and Opal, the mother, who are voiced by some celebrity casting. We got Opal voiced by Carrie Russell and Tess voiced by Caitlin Dever or Dever. What do you think? How do you think you say her name, Kyle?
I think it's Deaver. I think. I'm not. Now I'm second guessing myself.
Yeah, I'll defer to you. As the foremost Caitlin Dever expert, I assume you're right.
I am a big fan of Booksmart. That's a very good movie. I don't know if you've watched that movie, but that was kind of her breakout role. Very good movie.
And the Dark Ages.
Okay.
Yeah, the Summer House.
So yeah, this game is very much, if you've played Gone Home or Tacoma, Fullbright is very good at doing sort of like narrative adventure games. You know, they're not the most gameplay heavy. It's mostly about sort of like light interactions in a big explorable environment and absorbing like story, and it's more about like the writing and the characters and the performances than it is about just like, you know, doing a bunch of like super complicated mechanics. And I'm about like 3 hours into Open Roads right now. And it's a lot. It's like very much in that vein. So I feel like you know whether or not you're gonna like this or not if you're, you know, how you feel about I guess like lighter, more like almost like borderline visual novel games in some sense. But I will say this is more, you know, it's maybe as interactive as something like Gone Home, where there is like, you know, walking around in first person and inspecting environments and clues and that stuff. But I think the thing that stands out about this game is probably the art direction the most. It's got this, as you can see, kind of like almost like it's like animated characters. Like everything is like 3D polygonal except for the two main characters who are like 2D animated. But it almost like, you know, their mouths don't move when they speak, which is I'm still getting used to, and I don't think I'm totally on board with. Mainly because it sort of reminds me of
it could still be
what was it as Dusk Falls, that narrative game. Do you remember that?
I do remember it. It's not one I played, but yeah, I remember it coming out. I think it actually came to a new platform kind of recently.
Yeah, it's coming to PlayStation pretty soon. But that game had a similar where it was like barely animated still frames was pretty much the game, for lack of a better term. I mean, this has a lot more sort of like active movement and animation than that game, but it is sort of like something of a disconnect when the characters get like very emotional or upset, and then sometimes the face matches it, or sometimes it's sort of like in the same expression that was, you know, they had at the beginning of whatever they were saying, but then, you know, the mood has changed and it hasn't changed their face yet. Does that make sense?
Right. Oh yeah, no, I mean that's like, yeah, visual, that happens a lot in visual novels, and I think maybe I wonder if you're maybe less forgiving here is because it feels so much more active than a visual novel.
It's kind of like, right? It's almost like, there, right? Like it's like, oh yeah, and you're like, oh, why not just go all the way and just have them just talk, basically, you know?
But I do like that it's unique. I've seen some trailers and stuff, but watching sort of extended gameplay here with you now, like it definitely does give it its own sort of vibe and style. It's funny. I kind of am thinking of. I don't think this is what they were going for, but it kind of makes me think of like trying to get your driver's license in Parappa the Rapper, sort of. It's like what it makes me think of, because you have those sort of flat characters driving around in a car. So you do have these moments. It's not all in the car. I see here.
No.
Now we're getting more into the sort of what I would probably consider, and maybe you could tell me if I'm wrong, but this probably feels closer to Gone Home, I would think, right?
Yeah, exactly. Especially we're about to enter a home that we've been gone from for a long time. Yeah. So I won't get into too many story spoilers, because that is like the meat and potatoes of this game is the story. Like I said, you're just trying to get to the bottom of this mystery about your recently deceased grandmother, and you're on the verge of moving out of the house that you were living with her in, and you're basically like, the daughter is like, hey, let's just go on a road trip. Let's figure out this mystery. And their relationship is sort of the center of everything, because there's definitely some tension, especially with her dad. Like the parents are divorced, and it seems like, as far as you can tell, it was like maybe not a great divorce, but the daughter still has like a good relationship with their father. So sort of like the story behind like what happened there with her mom and their dad is a recurring thing. As you can see here, we're exploring around, and yeah, like you said, it's very Gone Homey, and like you'll be picking up a lot of stuff, and only some of it is important, and a lot of it is more like either like flavoring in terms of like setting up the time period, just like Gone Home, set in the real world, set in 2003 actually, to be specific. But they make a lot of real world references to like 9/11 and like George Bush is president right now, and that kind of stuff, to help kind of like ground it a bit. And I will say that like I do really, at the time of playing this, I am really into the story. Like there are some revelations that have come up where I'm like, okay, I want to see where this goes. There's some really interesting threads that are being introduced, to the point where like I'm exploring everything and picking up everything, because some of the stuff you can pick up is crucial, and then other stuff is not critical path, but it can add some like interesting context either to the world or to just, the characters' backstories, where it's like, well, I don't want to miss anything, so I'm just going to pick up everything. They make it clear what is like, what matters and what doesn't. Like there'll be a prompt that says like, oh, call mom over so you can talk about this thing. And then they'll have a conversation like this.
I don't know.
I like how when you pick up objects, like your animated hand is sort of in frame, like holding the object. It's like, it's a small thing that makes you feel like you're controlling that character within the world. Because like, I don't think it's unfair to compare it to Gone Home, but the one thing about Gone Home is you kind of felt like you were just a floating camera walking around the house. You were picking up things and looking at them, but you weren't really handling them. There was no sense of your sort of character physically beyond, what you were reading about you from another perspective, right? You would find a note talking about their daughter or something like that. So that's cool. That's a nice little touch that I like, that like you can see the hand when you pick up things and examine things.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. And there is like some light puzzle solving. Like you'll be looking around for like, oh, there's a locked door here. Well, maybe there's a key around that we can find. You're going to go look for the key, or you'll find like, remember, like it's pretty much like extensions of like find a thing to get into a thing, and you'll like find clues, like a half hour ago that'll come up again later on. You'll be like, oh wait, I have this thing. And what I do like too so far, just from like even just this one house segment, is that you can kind of sequence break the game, where there was points where I like went to an area that the story hadn't told me to yet, but I found an answer to a problem that I guess I was supposed to find later. But the game like allows for that, where I'll get to the area I probably should have gone first, and the characters will be like, oh, I already did that thing that I would have told you to do if you had come here first. Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I do appreciate that. But I'd say so far it's not like it's not like an adventure game in terms of like complexity of like, okay, I need to go into my inventory and combine ingredients or combine items and try to figure out how to put this here. It's very much like we're going to put a key somewhere, and then sooner or later you're going to be railroaded to the door that it needs to go. You might have to look around a bit, but it's not going to be all that difficult. Like, you'll get there just by moving forward, more or less. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Which I don't mind. Like, I enjoy these kind of games. Like I said, I've enjoyed Fullbright's work. I like a good narrative, and like with the sort of like minimal interaction, it's just sort of like nice. Like, it's just like just enough sort of like seasoning to make it more engaging, but it's not like taxing either, where it's like, okay, I gotta feel like I gotta solve this really complicated thing just to get more of the story. Like, sometimes I just want to, like, you know what, I gotta find a key. I know I'm gonna find a door soon. I just want to look around and have the characters have a interesting conversation about this thing and then just move on, which so far the game is doing a lot of that, and like I said, I'm enjoying it so far. Are you a Fullbright fan, Kyle? And have you had this game on your radar at all?
Not really. Not for any, like, I played Gone Home and I enjoyed it. Tacoma did not really click with me. In general, I am not a big, like, narrative focused gamer, if that makes sense. Like, sure. I like a good story in a game, but usually when I'm playing a video game, I'm looking for sort of agency over sort of the movement and the action of the game. Like, I go to other mediums for story, typically, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like, I get the same enjoyment out of playing a game like this as I do reading a book. Which is to say, like, they can both be really emotionally enthralling and engaging, but it's not like my typical genre. It kind of takes something special to pull me in.
Yeah, I feel like it's like those are one of the two camps you fall in with these kind of games. Either it's like your jam, or it's something where like, oh, I appreciate it, but it's just not my...
Oh yeah, I love Fullbright. Like, I like that they're doing... Well, it's not really Fullbright, right? It's the
Open Roads team.
The Open Roads team, to properly credit them. Like, I like that these different kinds of games can exist. I like that they're trying to do something different. I like that they're trying to tell, like, a mother-daughter story in a video game. That doesn't exist in our medium, you know? Like, it barely exists in other mediums. So, like, I'm always grateful to see those kind of, narratives based on experiences that I did not myself have. Like, I like being able to have that alternate point of view. So I appreciate it for all those reasons. But yeah, I don't know if it's going to be one that I will dive into. We'll see.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm interested so far, or I'm enjoying it so far. I think the performances from the actresses has been pretty strong, and that the writing has been enjoyable so far. I think I like both characters well enough, which is always nice to have. And yeah, like right. the mystery, like, things have happened where it's like, okay, like I know I'm gonna finish this. I'm in too deep now. I need to see how this ends, because
that's good. Okay, the hooks are there early on. That's good to hear.
Yeah. So like I said, like I feel like these games, maybe more so than any other, like, even like story driven, quote unquote, traditional game, like, pretty much they live or die by how well the game sticks the landing on the story, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So of course.
It's like, I'm hoping that this game, obviously ends well and whatever, but like I said, it's set up a lot of stuff where I'm like, okay, like, I'm excited to hop in this car and just, move on to the next place, which I think for people that might have thought you were just in the car the whole time, it's really not. Like, the car's kind of like the in-between your, like, major destinations like this. So yeah, it's kind of like a nice mix of, like, sitting in the car, poking around, talking to your mom, and then also, okay, we're here, let's get out and pick some things up and, spin it around our hands and see if anyone has anything to say.
Yeah. It's funny, I was just complimenting the hand showing up in screen, but I guess for certain 3D objects, it's not always there, huh? Just like, it depends on the thing.
Locked. Maybe the little key?
Yes, Grandma's Diary.
Nope.
So yeah, we'll wrap it up here. I don't want to show too much, again, just to avoid any spoilers, but that is Open Roads. It is coming for PlayStation, Xbox, PC, March 28th. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's cool if nothing else, it's cool to see it finally coming out after, it feels like it's been a long time. And there was even a period where I wondered if the game was going to be coming at all. So
yeah, no, it's nice to see that they've hit the finish line. That's good.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Kyle. And thanks for watching, everyone. And we'll see you next one. Bye-bye.
See ya.